And it says we are Facebook Live, so it doesn't take long once you hit that button, huh? Ready or not, you're on. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening for our Talking Teen Stress program. I always say this is going to be a good program because I always believe it is going to be. This one's going to be, I don't know. I already feel, I don't know how I feel because when you have situations going on in the world, in the country, in our nation, our city, in our neighborhoods that really impact youth, teens, that does something to me. That does something to my heart. And I think we should address it as much as possible, over and over again, as strongly as we can, on every platform that we can. So that's why I coordinated this program and I invited professionals because I don't know a lot. I know a little. I think I know it all, but I don't. So I have our regular mental health professional that assists us with many of our programs, Dr. Crystal Jackson, who is a licensed psychologist. Welcome to you, Dr. Jackson.
Hi, Gail. Thank you. Thank you for having me again.
For sure. And I also have Mrs. Charmaine Lundberg. She is a professional as well, licensed professional counselor. Thank you for being with us.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to see what we can do to help the teens. I agree with you. There's a lot going on right now, and everybody's struggling. And so if we can give the teens, some help, some encouragement, some support, I think that's just very important, especially right now.
For sure. Also joining me, because I usually don't work directly with teens, is Miss Lindsay. She is our information services librarian, but she also works directly with the teen department in the library. So she has some great connections and some great communication with the teenagers there. So I invited her to kind of co-host, be a active listener, participant, however she wishes to join. I appreciate that. Do you hear an echo, or is it just me? Is that making that happen? Anybody hear that echo besides me?
No, I do not hear an echo. You sound very
Okay,
clear to me.
this is going to be interesting.
No, I do hear an echo.
Okay, well, bear with me, listeners from Facebook. I'd like to also make you aware if you'd like to have a comment or a question, you can type your comment or question in the comment section and we will respond to you. And you see some other faces here. That's because I invited some teenagers, or teenagers were invited to share their experiences on what they're going on, what's going on in their lives related to stress, depression, anxiety, just whatever it is. And it can be during this pandemic, before the pandemic. It really doesn't matter. We want to address it. So joining me is Hannah, Ryan. I also see Ethan down there. Look at Ethan. You going to talk with us too, Ethan?
Yeah, that's correct. I
You're
came
going to
here. My friend Ryan invited me. So I should probably
very
say
good.
what's on my
Okay.
mind right now,
Okay.
what I've been dealing with. Maybe like other people are feeling the same way. So
I appreciate you joining us. Very good. So let me start off. Maybe I'll start off talking with the teens. I think they're ready. We're going to listen, and I invite the professionals to please jump in at any given time with any recommendations or something you can contribute to help, because I don't know who all is listening. We have parents. We may have teens themselves that range anywhere of stress. I mean, even to the severest. I've spoken to some who have been suicidal. So this is a serious conversation, and I want to make sure that even in our short amount of time, that we can do whatever we can to either give guidance and direction as best as we can. I'm going to start with Hannah and talk to you a little bit about what's going on in your world. How stressed are you? Are you stressed?
Yeah, so I guess I'll give like a little background of kind of where I'm at. So I kind of developed anxiety, depression symptoms, I'd say a year ago. Um, so this was kind of pre-COVID. I just graduated high school. I was experiencing a lot of transitions and stuff like that. So going into COVID, honestly, like quarantine and stuff was just a big break for me. And it was just kind of nice to be able to stay in my own little room, hang out with my family. And so coming out of that has been a big change and has increased a lot of my anxiety symptoms. So kind of going into that more, I guess. Uh, I moved to Chicago and moved into college and stuff, which was a lot of transition and having to develop new friendships. So there was just a lot with that whole thing and figuring out kind of how I deal with stress and how I deal with anxiety. So for me, just learning more about mental health, because that really wasn't something that was talked about when I was growing up in middle school and high school. So I've just been learning a lot more about it, learning how to deal with it, some practical things that I need to do to work through it, talk to people who also struggle with it. And right now I'm on the up, thankfully. So, but yeah, that's kind of where I've been at this past fall, was a lot of just learning and giving myself grace and working through just the thoughts in my head and working through those anxiety symptoms and panic attacks and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Can I pick up on a phrase that you used? I love it. You use the phrase giving yourself grace. I think that is so huge. And I am going to ask you if you can expand on what that means to you. What did it look like when you were giving yourself grace?
Yeah, I think the hardest thing for me, like going through all of this and still going through it, is just like I would have like a really good week and it would just be like, wow, I didn't really experience a panic attack this week. That's awesome. And then going into the next week, something would just hit me and I would spiral again and I would just want to stay in bed. I wouldn't want to leave my room and interact with people. And so I'd get really down on myself, just like, dang, like I was doing so good and now I'm back to where I started. And so that would spiral me even further. And so I just learned that it's okay to have a bad week. It's okay to have a bad day. That's going to happen. That's life. Things are going to happen that are just going to throw you off balance. And so learning to give yourself grace and be like, okay, so this is the day, this is the situation that was presented to me. How am I going to deal with it? It's okay to feel sad today. It's okay to feel stressed because life is hard. And so just realizing life is hard, things are going to happen. And so offering yourself grace and just reminding yourself that everything isn't going to fix itself and anxiety isn't just going to go away after a week, after a couple months. Like it's going to be a process of working through that. So yeah.
All right, very
Yeah,
good.
that's great. Can I ask another real question there? How long did it take? Because we talked about earlier how other people are listening, right? So how long would you say it took for you to get to that point of recognizing, I have to extend myself some grace?
Yeah. So I guess kind of backforwarding to kind of what I was talking about earlier is like a year ago, I kind of realized like anxiety was part of my life and kind of put a label on it, which really helped me, honestly. It was really scary thinking about like, oh, I have anxiety. Like that's something that I just kind of heard about out there. And so putting a label on it and being like, okay, I'm struggling with this. And so now I can kind of breathe and work with something instead of just kind of figuring out what I'm dealing with no label, So that was a big thing. And so it was probably like about 6 months later that I really started actually working on it and figuring out how to deal with the panic attacks on themselves and stuff. And then getting a counselor and being able to talk about it with people was huge. And so it was probably like about 2 or 3 months of just talking about it with people and being like, dang, like I'm back in this place of I'm feeling down again. Like, when is this going to end? And then a lot of people just pouring into me and talking to me about it and saying like, Hannah, it's okay. Like you had like a really good couple of days and you're still doing really, really well. So I guess like it was just like 2 or 3 months of me just like working through it, processing, and reminding myself that even if I have a bad day, like we're going to be okay. Like the sun's going to rise in the morning and we have a new chance to work again. And so, yeah.
Very good. Ryan, I know you have a different experience, and I'm looking forward to hearing some of the things that you had experienced either during the pandemic or before that have affected your mood or your attitude or your personality or your feelings. Can you share a little bit?
Yeah, I can share a little bit. It kind of started with the pandemic. Before then, it was kind of just regular school stresses, most of you probably experienced. But when the pandemic started, around the second, like after the first school year ended, And then the next school year where schools learn more about, how they would do this. That's sort of when I guess it got more stressful or more just just stressful. Yeah, so I've been trying to deal with that for a while. And yeah, sometimes it was like, oh yeah, you can do it, don't have to stress too much. That helps, but it feels like there needs to sometimes be some stuff done about the problem itself or what is causing that stress in itself, and not just like, because words of encouragement, that's good, that's nice and all, but sometimes you have to actually tackle the problem. It feels like, because it'll be like, because myself, I don't struggle too much with talking down on myself. Sometimes I just need to. Sometimes I'll have some anxieties, or sometimes I'll be in my head too much. But usually I'm kind of okay within that regard. So I feel like there needs to be a somewhat of a balance of schools, teachers, parents, adults in general taking more action and tackling the problems, and being more active in just, I guess, the child's life and stuff like that.
How effective or ineffective do you believe schools are with addressing teen stress related concerns?
I have to go off my school and a little bit of like my elementary school. Not really well. It was just kind of like, it was a lot of blabber. It was a lot of just, oh, you do it, you got it. Don't talk on yourself too hard. Like, oh, okay, that's nice and all, but there's still like, it feels like sometimes we don't live in a world where we get to do that much. We don't get the opportunity to do that much, to not worry about the stress as much. So I feel like if you tackle the foundation of the stress, what's causing it, that will be more effective. And then if teens have more outlets where they feel like they are safe, like if make it a normal thing to talk about just any certain topics that a teen struggles with, sexuality or grades or whatever. It can be whatever. If they don't feel like they have an outlet, they're not going to talk. That's like, oh, they don't talk. You don't give them an outlet. Where do they go? Well, you're not talking to them. You just leave them alone. So, or you're not asking the right questions. You're not doing the right thing. So, yeah, that. And I think I forgot the last part of that, or that's it.
That's okay. I like what you're saying, Ryan. I'd like to hear a response from either Dr. Jackson or Ms. Lundberg.
I was just going to say, Ryan, what you're saying is so true. It's like, I think it's reflective. I know you talked about specifically like your experience with your school, but I would say even in my involvement with different schools, that doesn't really happen on a regular basis, right? So it's, when I hear you talk, I think of like a club, right? Or any type of program where it's like, this is a regular ongoing arrangement or setting or platform that we create for students. So for an example, every Friday night, 6 to 8, we have this ability for students to come together. Whoever wants to come can come in, and it's just an open forum, and things are kind of tossed on the table to be explored and talked about and discussed and possibly resolved, right? What do you think about something along those lines? Does that hit close to maybe what you are alluding to, or what maybe you have in your mind as well? Just, it could be many things you have in your mind, but would that be one thing that schools could do?
You were mainly talking about clubs to let out stress. Is that that's the point you were making, or is that something else?
So using clubs as an example of just something that happens every, it's a set day, set time, but it wouldn't really be a club. It's just the idea of something happening like every Friday, every fourth Friday of the month, we have this open platform for students to come in and get into what you were just talking about as far as, teachers or parents not coming to the students and asking questions, or they're not asking the right questions. So I'm just kind of formulating in my head, because what I would like to see one thing to come out of this is for those adults, right? Those of us who work in the profession, those of us who work with school systems can take some of these ideas and help to put them into action. I think that would be a wonderful outcome of tonight's discussion, one of many, great outcomes. So I'm just wondering your thoughts about putting something like that into motion within school systems, where there is a platform, open forum, where students, they know this is a safe zone.
I do really like that concept. That's definitely a good idea. It's just the last point I knew I wanted to make was I guess coverage, and by that I mean going back to the tips when I said that might work for some people who struggle with that, but people who don't. That I'm not saying it means nothing, but it's not going to help as much. So you have to just cover for different situations, different households. For example, I already forgot.
That's okay. You're doing great.
Hold on real quick, yeah.
That's okay. Miss Gail. You want me to come back to you, Ryan? I can. I haven't talked to Ethan yet.
Yeah.
Sure,
Come back
no
to me.
problem. Let's talk to
And if
Ethan.
you could interject real quick
Sure.
to ask the teens, how comfortable do you guys feel about talking about your emotions with anyone, but in particular in like a group setting?
Yeah, I can go. For me personally, like especially like in the beginning of everything when it was all happening, it needed to be someone who I was close with, and they had like what Ryan was saying about asking the right questions to kind of even just get me processing like what I was feeling. So it needed to be someone that I knew, that I trusted. And honestly, like looking back on it, I don't think like I would have been able to like speak up in a group setting and be able to talk about kind of where I was at and what I was feeling. That probably would have made me even more anxious. So yeah, I think it needs to start with having like those one-on-one connections with someone who you trust, a teacher, a coach, something like that, and then moving into like either group counseling or those like big group activities that Dr. Jackson was talking about. So yeah, that's just what I was feeling, what I was thinking.
So starting out on a more intimate one-on-one setting, and then eventually branching out, maybe once you get to the point of comfort of kind of a group setting may be helpful, because then you have kind of share similarities, and right, you have this understanding from your peers and feel more supported.
Yeah, for sure. And then like with those group things, like there can be like accountability in that too. Just like we're in this together, and being able to go to classes and be able to support each other when like probably your friend is feeling the same way would be huge for sure.
Ethan, I do want to get you into the conversation. Talk to us about some of the things you've been hearing. Do you have similar experiences, totally different, or what can you share with what's going on in terms of stress in your life?
In terms of stress in my life, I feel like it's a combination of a lot of things. Where do I start? So I'll just start like saying I graduated from the class of 2020. So during my school year, at the end of my senior year, that's when COVID hit, and that's when it started to sort of affect me, where all my senior events were sort of canceled, and I didn't really get to experience what my older peers and my older classmates experienced. That sort of that affected me a lot. Going into the start of my freshman year at college was the start of my online classes. The online classes, I feel like school didn't feel the same after we tried doing online learning. I don't think I learned best in an online setting. That's why I sort of was going doing really poorly. So just just not doing well. It's a combination of a lot of it's hard to explain. It's a combination of a lot of things. The online learning didn't really help to supplement or like put me back into like a somewhat learning environment. I'm very social and like I feel comfortable talking with people in person and we're like referencing off the question of Miss Lumberg asked how comfortable I am in like a public setting. I'm not very comfortable sharing my like my thoughts and emotions sort of in a public setting, but um I try to share them anyway because if I don't, it won't get any better. And I need to express it in order to to help myself. And this like sort of me is just trying to explain it in a way people can understand. Um, I've dealt with depression, anxiety since eighth grade or middle school. Um, I had a lot of pressure during my learning and education. It was showing through my high school years, and it's really showing now. And it's just that depression that like just really gets to me. Like whenever I have whenever I feel or I have like a bad like moment or just like a very down moment in life, sort of stacks onto each other. It sort of stacks onto one another. It's just all those like terrible moments and thoughts just keep weighing me down. Like, and I can't seem to shake them. It's just that feeling that you want to give up. Like you just want to the feeling you want to give up, or you just don't want to move or don't want to go through the pain anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know, how often do you get those feelings? And any one of you can answer. How often do you get those? And are there certain triggers that make them occur or escalate?
It it usually it usually triggers when I have a very stressful or a very like very very say urgent task I have to do or like it's just like it's either the thoughts of like I'm worried about what other people might think of the job I'm doing or like if I'm not going to be able to do it in time or whether or not it's going to be good enough for just to be approved of. And I talked to my counselor in junior year where I feel like my junior year of high school where I feel like I was really thinking about killing myself um during my junior year. And I went to and it was actually one of my teachers who told me I should probably go talk to a counselor about it, and that helped a lot. That sort of helped me gave me the strength to keep moving. Even with the position I'm in right now, I'm not really doing so great, but I'm just trying to just I'm just trying to to keep moving forward and doing what I can to like help get to live with these thoughts or like be able to handle and getting through these thoughts and stuff. And I think coming here and talking about it helps a lot too.
I definitely want to hear from Ms. Lumberg at this point because he made some very strong points there, and I think they need to be addressed. He talked about not feeling good enough, not feeling comfortable talking to just anybody in certain settings, and then he even mentioned thoughts of suicide. That's a lot to handle in this short program, but I think a lot of listeners, including Ethan, they're dealing with the same thing. So what can you say, please?
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, I want to, let all the teens know that it's very normal to have these emotions of sadness, of feelings of not being good enough. Am I going to be rejected? It's something that we all, even as adults, oftentimes worry about. And the thing that I have found in working with a lot of teens is that um, if they don't have a close relationship with an adult that they feel like they could go to, they're pretty much just going to talk with their friends who are going through the same things. And so they tend to not necessarily have any answers to help them other than, yeah, I know, I feel the same way. And so, the one thing that I had found, I actually worked with worked with a group of teens and their parents recently, and we talked about what could we do to help youth during this time. And the idea of not feeling comfortable talking to strangers and all of this came up. And the one thing the big thing I think that we got out of that discussion was that kids would go to an adult if they felt that they had a relationship with them. And so, this could be teachers, it could be, neighbors, mentors at church, family members. And what was interesting is that the adults kind of felt like, oh, the kids they don't want to have a relationship with me. I'm just some old fuddy-dud. They don't want to hear what I have to say, and they're nervous about that. But the kids were like, no, the one girl talked about when she was over at her friend's house and there was a group of them over there, that the mom of the friend would stand there and talk with them. And so the girls would kind of hang out in the kitchen with the mom and talk with her while the boys would go and do other things. And, I think as adults, we're nervous about kind of putting ourselves out there, but really the kids want it and need it. And so if you're a teacher, reach out to the kids, talk with them, joke around with them, ask them what the latest movie was that they saw, try to get into their world. I have actually, for several years, and I still try to do this every now and then, but I'll substitute teach in the schools just so that I can kind of have a pulse of what's, going on in their daily lives and such. You don't have to be a therapist. You don't have to, teach in the schools and such. But if you have a niece or a nephew or grandchildren, that text them, check in on them once a week. Hey, how are you doing? How's your sport? How's piano? How's whatever? Reach out to them, because the kids are not going to reach out to you unless they know you care, right? And so that's, I think what I'm hearing from a lot of the teens is really they're wanting that connection. They're needing that connection to know they're not alone. And, us as adults, we feel like, oh, I don't have all of the answers, but you don't have to have all of the answers, just being there to listen to them and try to encourage them is amazing, and so, Ethan, you mentioned about feeling like you're not good enough, that you don't measure up, and that kind of sunk into that depression. It sounds like you didn't feel like you had people that you could talk to at that point.
Maybe so, or maybe not. I don't think he necessarily expressed whether he did or did not, but I think he said he mainly didn't feel comfortable talking in groups or something like that. But if you had to talk directly to Ethan while it relates to other teens, what can you say to him?
In terms of not feeling like they...
I'm sorry,
go ahead.
Sure, I'm sorry. I'm still trying to battle this echo sound that I hear, but not feeling good enough. I mean, what can someone say to young people who feel like they're not good enough? And either Dr. Jackson or Mrs. Humble.
I don't know, Crystal, do you want to take this or?
Sure. One thing that I heard, sometimes what happens is, we professionals, parents, teachers, they can start to evolve into what Ryan spoke of earlier, which is really trying to offer words of affirmation. And sometimes those words of affirmation are hard to receive when you don't believe it. Right? So it makes it very hard. And I believe I'm remembering correctly that, Ryan made the statement earlier that, yeah, it's nice, it's good, but like getting to the root of it, right? So it's like, yeah, having a cheerleader is great and nice, but if I'm really dealing with some issues, like I really want to have help getting to the root of the issues that's creating these feelings within me, not necessarily only a cheerleader or having these words of affirmation, right? So it's like you have to keep it in balance. And I think that, for a person who is having difficulty with their, their self-image or self-concept or beliefs about themselves, maybe fairly negative, or they're second guessing, they can't trust their own decisions. I think that that's when you would connect them or help the child or the teenager to identify someone they feel safe going to. I believe what was stated earlier was that during 11th grade, I think it was junior year, was mentioned where he was able to connect with a counselor. And during the time where he was, having suicidal thoughts, and connecting, I think, is the key phrase there. Being able to connect with someone one-on-one, as what was mentioned, was very helpful during that time. So I think it still goes back, Gail, to that connection piece and feeling like you can trust someone. It's not just like depression. It's never just one thing. Anxiety is rarely just one thing, right? So it's the same thing. The same thing is true when we talk about resolution and assistance that's offered. It's never just one way to resolve it or one way to approach it. So far in conversation, we're talking about the idea of maybe initially connecting, right, to feel supported and uplifted, and then eventually branching out to maybe a larger group. I think the other student said when he was still on that, he recognizes the need of speaking in larger groups, even though it may make him feel uncomfortable. I think Hannah said the same thing. But it's not just that one thing. It's almost like a progression, right? So you're kind of starting out connecting, very personal, very intimate, feeling supported, feeling uplifted, feeling like you're being built up, understanding yourself better, understanding the world better, right? Understanding that, as Charmaine said, it is very normal to deal with these fluctuations and not feeling like you really have it all together, like normalizing and validating the feelings that come up versus a person feeling all those different emotions and having all those different thoughts in isolation can make the person then believe that it's just me, it's only me who's dealing with this, and there's something wrong with me because I'm the only one feeling this way, right? That's when we get into the even more dangerous territory, when a person feels isolated, singled out, it's only them. And so the quicker we can get parents, teachers, right, counselors to understand the benefit of them connecting with the students, the better we are and the quicker we are able to help students navigate these thoughts of negativity or these, questions about themselves, regardless of what the topic is, right? It could be sexuality, it could be dating, it could be things going on at home, where just having someone safe that you trust to talk to, right, can be a huge weight, right, that's lifted, because now when you're able to connect based on your comfort level, now you're no longer feeling like you're in it by yourself, right? You're no longer feel like you're carrying all this weight by yourself.
Dr. Jackson, I think you said something important right there, especially at the last moment there for Ethan, Ryan, Hannah, and we also have joining us Macy. She's at work. Is it okay for me to say that? You had to take a little break from work, but she's going to be joining us shortly in the conversation. But Dr. Jackson, you mentioned there is hope. And I want to instill that into the young people to know there is hope. And you have to make a conscious effort sometimes to convince yourself of that. Everyone has the power to choose, I believe. You can choose the negative or the positive, and sometimes that negative force will try and overshadow you, overpower you, especially when you're alone. I always find that to be the case in different people who I've spoken to. When you're alone, all of these negative thoughts try and bombard you and overwhelm you, and that's when you have to pull up your inner strength to say, I am not alone. This is not what you're going through. It's never one thing that no one's ever gone through before. There are answers. There is hope. And I wish that would be something that we can, even if you write down some positive affirmations about yourself, your hopes or your dreams, even if it's incomplete, you can write incomplete. You don't have to have the answers to everything, be it school, be it life, be it anything. You don't have to have the answers. but with life and with breath, there is hope for progress. And I think if you can just think about those things in those isolated times when you feel alone, sometimes and oftentimes that's a step towards progress and a step toward help. Never feel alone. And I know you probably have heard that before, blah, 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 but don't feel alone, even when you're alone.
Well, and I think too, what may be important, and Ryan, I want to circle back because I know that you said you were thinking about something. I feel like I saw a chat. I'm not always good at following the chats, but someone questioned whether or not Ryan had access to speak or the ability to speak, or if his microphone was able to come through.
Well,
So
Ryan,
okay.
Absolutely, Ryan.
But to say what I was like earlier, what I couldn't remember was it was something about like when you guys said a safe space, making sure that space is genuinely safe. Because I've heard stories of kids telling a counselor, whatever, XYZ, saying, well, oh yeah, I won't tell your parents, and they tell their parents and they get in trouble or whatever. Like if someone like tells you to keep it as a counselor or teacher or whatever, keep it a secret. And again, going back to coverage and that involving safety. And say it's a gay kid in a homophobic family, right? So he goes to a counselor and like he wants to make sure he's safe, right? Some type of safe place. If he's not safe, even say his friends, right? They act homophobic too, or whatever situation. You could switch the words out, switch the situations out. But if it's making sure they're genuinely safe, because some kids aren't in the same situation with their parents, same relationship, some may feel more or less safe, whether that be just an abusive situation or the kids just don't want to do it right now. They don't want to directly talk to the parents, and they want to like use someone else as a vessel for their for venting to them. And then another thing, since I haven't really said it, well, I said a little bit of that too, but with online, they're lacking compassion or empathy. Like it's a pandemic, and just them still kind of being the exact same as if you're in the building is a little strange to me. Like I mean, I don't get the benefit of it just still being I think it's a good term for it, just uptight about maybe assignments or just to be just a little more understanding. That's all. Just and then going back to coverage that involves in this situation too, different kids just understanding. Sometimes you have to make an exception because not everybody is the same person and they're not going to be in the same situation. So if you just teachers or even school just to find it in their hearts, I guess, to just understand the kids, understand plights and other things.
You're making some very strong points, Ryan. I appreciate it. I do want to get in, and I'm going to come back to everything that you've said, Ryan. I do want to get Macy in because you don't have much time. So hi, Macy.
Hello. Thanks for being with me.
Thank you for joining us. I want you to get in here into the conversation. We're talking about stress. We're talking about depression. We're talking about every level. Nothing is too small. Nothing is too huge that we can't address here on our platform. Can you tell us a little bit about any stress that you have been dealing with, are dealing with, or have overcome?
Yeah. So I am just like a junior in high school, and I'm a part of our student and I'm also in our drama department and hold positions in both of those that I'm a pretty extroverted person and I do a lot of activities. So I deal with a lot of teachers that depend on me for different extracurricular stuff. And so, especially in a year like this where everything's unprecedented, I follow change. So I really hate all of the change that's continually happening. Trying to lead groups and doing stuff and still show leadership skills, like compromise and being those kind of and adjusting and hearing opinions, that stuff has been very difficult for me. So that's been a lot of the stress. just all the stresses that come with junior year. So that's been very stressful for me. And a lot of I'm not perfect at handling stress, but something that's been super good is mentorship and friends. So something that I found really beneficial is telling people about it and having those people that I know go to and I know will give me sound advice or just be a listening ear. They're there because they're there. So even back, I'm blanking on, but I think like having a listening you genuinely trust. I've prayed for that. I'm very blessed with the fact that those people here to that I specifically noticed, not that they've happened there other years, but specifically this year, I've noticed the people that actually and just want to hear where my kind of dealt with that.
I got most of what you said. Was it the audio crackling up a little bit on some of that for everyone or just me?
No, I was able to get some of it as well. I was kind of in and out, but I think, Macy, one thing that you said that I don't think we have touched on is this idea of change and how change can ignite stress, right? And dealing with the change, that's exactly what has been happening over, right, this past year now and a month or so, is a lot of change has come up. It was unexpected change. It was rapid change. It was forced upon us all. And dealing with that while being a student with responsibilities, right? I kind of feel like there is this merging between what Macy said and what Ryan said earlier, which is because of the change, school systems and teachers and administrators being able to extend a level of understanding. I'm going to use Hannah's phrase, grace, right? Flexibility, understanding that what Ryan said, we're not still in school. We're not, the students are not physically in school. They are adjusting to all of these changes and to proceed as if it's not happening complicates the situation even more, and it adds another level of stress to students who are already trying to stay on top of everything that they would stay on top of if they were physically in school. Now they're trying to mirror and mimic what they would do from a remote setting, right? Not to mention what Ethan said earlier, as far as this online setting and that and missing out on so much of his senior year. Like a lot of the exciting events happens towards the end of the school year, and so to have that like literally just stripped from you like at the blink of an eye, and you're still trying to wrap your head around what just happened and why, right? It's a lot. So I think that, again, having that cheerleader mentality, yeah, it can be nice, but being able to validate the loss is so incredibly important. Being able to validate the loss. A lot of students are dealing with grief and loss, and people tend to use that phrase when we're talking about maybe the physical death of someone, but there is loss. There is major loss that our students and our teenagers and frankly of all ages have experienced during this past year. And to not acknowledge it, it's hurtful, right? And I think that's a lot of what has been said so far, is that it's hurtful. And so to acknowledge it, to recognize it, and then to respond accordingly, right? Like, don't just acknowledge and do nothing with it. Right? It's like acknowledge it, and then let's have some level of understanding and flexibility here with what you all are asking and expecting of us as students.
I'd like to throw out a question. Very good, Dr. Jackson. Thank you. I'd like to throw out a question to the young people. Are you more comfortable with parents or guardians or whoever you live with approaching you and asking you about how you feel? Or should they wait for you to share with them? What's most comfortable for you? Anyone who would like to address that, I'd like to hear from.
I would rather be able to talk to my parents and let them know myself how I'm feeling instead of them coming to me and asking, because it sort of feels more like a demand than actual, like a casual sit down and chat. since like usually like in a household, the parent that's like kids are usually like always usually raised to listen to your parents or like always obey your parents and stuff. And your parents usually know, your parents knows more than you, and it's sort of that authoritative feeling sort of sinks in whenever they come to you first instead of you coming to them, especially about a personal aspect of like, your emotions. It's not a comfortable. It doesn't start off like the what's supposed to be a comfortable, casual like chat. It turns it into like a very tense moment or environment.
Do you tend to feel like it's the word, and does it ever feel like you're being interrogated?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Macy, what do you think about that?
I think it kind of. Does my audio work better now? By the way,
Not really, but we'll make through. I want to hear you.
I think it plays hand in hand. For me, I think generally I'd agree. I'd want to do my. Yeah, I don't want it to be an interrogation. I think it's good for me. It helps me grow to go to myself physically say what I say. But I also think that there's been times where I don't have the words for what I say, and I just say something. And so I think like I can't just read my mind, but there have been times where I read my mind. No, I did not need to put into words for me. So for me, I think it can play.
I got enough of that. I understood. Ryan, what about you? What do you have to say about that? Better for parents or your adults to approach you about concerns, or are you more comfortable?
For me to approach them for sure. What Ethan, like, kind of building what Ethan said. You just might not feel like it that day. And that's it. I don't feel like it. I don't want to. I don't want to talk to you right now. Like, not like a rude thing. I just don't want to right now. Tomorrow, later today. Like, I don't think it's a rude thing to not want to talk to someone at a certain point, especially when it's a topic as heavy as maybe, are you depressed, you want to kill yourself, et cetera, et cetera. Definitely from me to them instead of from them to me.
Got it. Hannah, what about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna throw a little bit different spin on this. I think I would have rather had my parents come to me and just ask questions, like as different things they think and stuff, and how I was feeling about it. But I love like what you guys are saying, because I totally relate to just like, I don't want to talk about it today, so I would probably just respond with, oh, everything's fine, like I'm good. But I think just like showing their support through just like, hey, there's a lot happening right now, and if you ever want to talk about it, I'm down to talk about it. And so opening up the conversation and being able to feel comfortable with that, that wasn't really something that I had. And so I think, yeah, it was a lot more difficult because it was hard for me to open up the conversation with them and like actually express like, oh, I'm feeling all this, but you have no clue what's going on inside my head. And so for them just to kind of be able to be like, hey, like a lot is happening. If you want to talk about it, let's talk about it. But you like not putting the pressure on her is huge, because a lot of times I didn't know what was going on inside my head and didn't know how to articulate it into words. So I needed time to be able to process it on my own. So yeah.
I appreciate everything you're saying, because this is really helpful to adults and parents. Believe it or not, we don't know it all, we don't. So hearing from you, it really matters, because often, and sometimes when you don't hear anything from your parent, or they may not seem supportive, sometimes we just don't know what to do. Or on the reverse side, sometimes parents are nagging. It still comes from not really knowing what to do. But I think all of it comes from love. I hope through all of that, you feel some sort of love. And I think often love helps deal with a lot of things that you're going through. The misunderstanding sometimes can overshadow that, where you only focus on, this is getting on my absolute nerves. And I understand that. We all get that in different areas of our life. But thank you for educating parents and adults on what you're saying. Dr. Jackson, were you about to say something?
No, I think that was me.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I mean, I think this goes back then to about the relationships. This is this is something that, you know, you can't sit there and raise your kids and then all of a sudden they're teenagers and you're like, okay, so talk to me. You know, this is something that hopefully you've been developing over the years where you've, you know, sat down and talked with your kids about maybe some deeper things, at least made it so that they knew that it was okay for you to come to that or for them to come to you and talk about these things, and you're not going to freak out. Like I hear all the time about, oh, I couldn't tell my parents that, they'd freak out. You know, my mom would have a nervous breakdown, dad would, you know, send me to boot camp, whatever. And so, you know, it's one of those things that for parents, you know, to not overreact. You know, yes, we may not have all the answers. Sometimes it might be good to just say, thank you so much for confiding, you know, in me with these things, and, you know, listen to them. We don't have to give them answers. Sometimes just listening is helpful. But to say, hey, can we put a pin in this and come back and talk about it after I've had a chance to think about this so that I can give you some more helpful thoughts as opposed to just kind of a knee-jerk reaction, right? And so, you know, developing that relationship with them so that your kids know that they can come and talk to you, and that you're not going to overreact is a huge part, and that the door is open, right? I mean, that's what Hannah was saying, is that, and even Macy, you know, just to know that the parents are available for them to come and talk to when they're comfortable. I mean, I'm the mother of two daughters, 17 and 20. And I'm a therapist. And so, you know, I would want to check on them, see how they're doing. And, you know, I had to, even with my own kids, just kind of be a little more, you know, make sure that they know, hey, you know, I love you. I'm here if you want to talk about anything. You know, we actually recently had a suicide in our church, a 16-year-old boy. And, you know, to be able to, you know, go to them and say, hey, I know this is really a difficult thing. If you want to talk, I'm here. Let me know. And honestly, you know, it seems like it's the most inconvenient time when your kids decide to talk to you, right? Like they'll come to you when you're busy, when you're exhausted, when you're in the middle of dinner, and they'll talk to you. Set whatever you're doing down and listen to them, because when they come to you, they're not going to come to you often, and you know, especially if you're not listening. And so stop what you're doing, turn, look at them. Whatever it is that you're working on will be there later. It's more important to really stop and listen to your kids when they do decide, okay, it's time, I need to talk.
I have a couple of questions. I want to see what I want to ask first, but I do want to see, I don't know if teens know what to say to their parents or whoever when they have certain feelings. I don't know if that's some of the reasons why they don't want to come to their parent. They don't really know what to say, or they fear the response. I heard a mention of identity. That's a big deal, whether you're a kid or adult or whatever. If you want to share that with a parent or someone who's opposed to it, that could be a lot of stress. What do you say? What do you say to the young person? And then what do you say to the parent or guardian in addressing a situation like that? I know that's an off-guard question, but it's pretty common today.
I think honestly, because we have teenagers here, I would really like to hear from the teens. And you know, going with that question, Gail, can I just ask that question to the teens and say, how comfortable, because this would be very enlightening, how comfortable are they, teenagers, young adults, how comfortable are you with sharing information that you believe go against, right, the expectations of your parents, the beliefs of your parents? You know, I think that is extremely enlightening to hear from the teenagers that we have.
We'll start.
Macy, can we start with you?
Yeah, so I think like a little, but I think you're asking just how do we approach our parents when we, is that kind of what you're saying? Or we have,
How you approach is a part of Gail's question, but the other part is how comfortable are you? Because a lot of times it's because we don't, I think Gail mentioned, we don't, when I say we, I'm speaking like a teenager, right? Like we don't know how our parents are going to react or respond. So how comfortable are you with mentioning or bringing up conversations and topics that you know may go against your parents' beliefs, values, right, position?
Yeah, so I think that for starters, my parents personally have ways, like I know down that they're and I down no matter what their action that they're gonna through it. I've never heard my parents abandoning me or disagreeing so much that they at a distance or something. So I've been blessed enough to have that security. But I'm a perfectionist, I'm a people pleaser, and that comes with my too. And so I often struggle with well, I'll tell them and they'll be okay, we'll get through it, but they'll be disappointed. And then and I think that like I'm comfortable with it, but there's a lot of lies through my head that I have a lot of time fighting through. And I've been reading about fighting the lies in your head and how much time is how you react to things. And another thing that going to my parents, I'm more comfortable when I go to my parents when I've been keeping them updated. And I even make the initial, like the intent, or not the intent, but like the initiative to talk to my parents and update them. The more comfortable I am with them, the more I can tell them, more willing I am to talk to them. If that makes sense.
Yes.
I got a lot of that for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hannah, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, there definitely is like that initial just fear that you are going to feel like you're going to be rejected from your parents, just because, especially for me, like I hold them in such high standards that like I want them to love me and care for me and stuff. And for me, like I've never doubted that. I've never doubted that they wouldn't love me after I told them something. But there is that initial, okay, what are they going to think after this, or how are we going to handle this after we have this conversation? And so I think like for me, like I am very comfortable and I just know that like my parents are gonna love me through this conversation and stuff. It's just getting through like what Macy was saying, those lies are spinning around in your head, like, oh, they're gonna hate me after this, they're gonna be so disappointed. And for me, for my family, thankfully that is not true. And so I just have to get through those initial thoughts and working through those. And I think like for parents in general, if I'd give advice is just to like it's going to be years of just building up that trust with your kids and opening up those conversations with them, so then like when something big does happen in their life, you're going to be the ones that they go to and they're willing to talk through that stuff with, but it takes time to build up that respect and that communication between a parent and a child. So
like that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
Ryan,
thank you.
Ryan, I'd like to hear from you. What do you, same thing that Dr. Jackson asked in terms of what do you feel the need to hear from your parents if you need to, and not just your parent, a parent, you don't have to personalize it if you don't choose to, but expressing uncomfortable conversations. What do you look for a response, or how comfortable are you speaking on difficult topics?
There's some I've like talked about lightly, some I've talked about like a little bit more in depth, but nothing like too big as far as I can remember in terms of like difficult topics to touch on.
What do you need for a parent to do? Because I think all or three of you said you'd rather not be approached. So then
create
that leaves
a good environment, and environment makes it easy to approach.
I'm sorry, say it again. I didn't hear that. I'm sorry.
To create an environment that makes it easy to do so. I don't know how to put that into words, how they can do that. Maybe someone else could say it. But if the environment just feels, even if you just see how your parents treat another family member, You might think, oh, if they're like this, and if I do that, or whatever it is. Maybe if you see them, it could be something unrelated, but that pops up in your head when you want to tell them something. I'm like, well, maybe I'll think about it again. Maybe I'll tell someone else or keep it bottled up.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That's pretty good, because he's Ryan talking about not just my experience with how my parents respond to me, but I am observing how they respond to other people, right, with different topics or situations or circumstances. Ethan, what about you? How comfortable are you opening up? You know, I remember you were the first one to say you're definitely more comfortable with, like, you want to be the one to initiate the conversation. So how comfortable are you with initiating a conversation if you believe that it goes against the grain of the family, or goes, you know, kind of, you know, how your family feels about certain things or their thoughts about things? How comfortable are you with still moving forward and opening up?
Talking about sort of like conversations that can deal with like sort of serious topics. I guess like it's hard for me to talk to my family when it's like a serious topic conflicting what my parents believe or what my family believes with what I want to do. It's sort of like being like, I could have like the probably like the sexuality talk, but I couldn't have like the talk personally relating to me directly. It's sort of hard, and it's sort of that which what you guys said, being that fear of like what my parents might think, combined with the fact like what if I don't explain it correctly, they probably won't understand and get the wrong idea. And that's sort of like that sort of has been contributing to what so I think has been my depression, because I haven't been able to vent what has been on my mind to like people that are close to me, or like who I care about, like especially my family, who should be like the closest people in my life. Going with off like Brian said, I would see like my mom and my dad like talking to other people and like acting like sort of one way to other people and acting like another way to how we're living when they're like not around other people, like just with family. And I just feel like I don't know, that duality, or that contrasting with like what my family believes in. That's sort of hard for me to get around, or just to get over.
Macy, I don't want you to feel uncomfortable. I know you're on a break, so whenever you have to pop out, I'll understand, okay?
Okay, I'll be out in probably about 4 minutes.
Whenever, you can stay as long or as little as you need to.
Thank you.
All right, so I heard from the young people. What do we say though now to maybe the parents who are the nag, or the ones that are not saying the right thing? What can we say to them to prepare with how to deal with situations like we're talking about?
I say, based on, and that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to hear from the panel first, is because I think one of the things that parents can do, those who are listening, and maybe even those who shared this broadcast and, you know, share with other people, maybe who wasn't able to see it live, is that we must, what I took away from everything that was said just a moment ago, I take away that parents, we have to check ourselves. And what do I mean when I say check ourselves? I mean, check our responses. Check what we are communicating when we respond, not just verbally, even non-verbally. Understanding that our children have decisions and they have ideas that may be different from ours. And what is the most important thing when we hear something that is different than what we may feel like we have taught them, or right, what we have trained them to do or believe. What do we do? How do we respond? How do we check ourselves? We treat them as human. And I think that's really hard. I think that's extremely hard for parents to do, because as parents and even teachers, even the school system, they have this idea of what they're trying to develop in their children. They have an idea of what they want to see from their students. And if they notice that they're veering off from that, right, they react, right? And sometimes they react to the point where now we're hearing it can push them away further, right? They can essentially implode, right? They can kind of keep everything in and bottled up to the point where there is no outlet. And so my question to those adults who are working with young people, whether it's in a role as a school administrator, a teacher, or counselor, or a parent, what is your goal? What is your goal? Is your goal to push your child away? Is your goal to push the student away? What is your goal? And asking yourself, when I do this, am I accomplishing my goal?
Well, and the one thing that I would like to add too, and I think Dr. Jackson started touching on it a bit, is that you know, the kids, hi Macy, have a good night at work. The teens that I have heard from, the number one thing that they have said that bothers them and prevents them from talking with adults or their parents in particular is that they feel a lack of respect. And I know that, you know, especially older generations may sit there and think, oh, you know, it's not my job as the adult to respect the children, but, you know, they are human beings, you know, like Crystal or Dr. Jackson was saying, in that, you know, they do have their own thoughts and emotions and viewpoints on things, and we may not agree with that. And, you know, unfortunately, we're dealing with this cancel culture in our society right now and such. And, you know, I think this kind of goes right along with it. We can't just ignore our children's thoughts and viewpoints and stuff just because it doesn't align with ours. You know, listen to them. Ask them, well, why do you feel that way? And not in an accusatory way, but to truly find out, well, why do you feel that way? Why are you thinking about that? You know, help me to understand this a little bit more, and keep the communication open. If you react versus respond, and you have this knee-jerk reaction and you get all upset and, oh, you can't be thinking that way or whatever, they're never going to come back to you and talk to you again. So you have to be very careful about how you respond when they come to you about something that maybe, you know, you aren't thrilled with. You know, I've heard several, you know, where the child's going in the military and the parents want them to go to college. You know, the child is leaning Democrat, the parents are Republicans. The child is you know, questioning their sexuality, the parents are very conservative. Whatever it may be, I don't care what the differences are. You can't have such a huge reaction and be so negative that you're disrespecting their thoughts. You're basically marginalizing their feelings, their emotions. Again, it may not line up with what you think it should be, but they're not you. Our children are not little mini me's. They're not little copies of us. They are free-willed human beings, and they're gonna have their own viewpoints about things. And you know, I would just say, you know, that this is definitely something where, you know, to respect them, to give them some space to figure this out. You know, they may come back a year later and go, yeah, I worked it out and, you know, I changed my mind. Okay. Or they may go, yeah, I've really worked on this and I'm still in that same place and I still think this, that, or the other. But, you know, we can't control their thinking, especially once they're out of our homes. they're going to do whatever they want to anyways. So if we establish and create a relationship from the very get-go of openness and acceptance and respect, they're going to be way more apt to come and talk to you than if you don't.
Absolutely. Again, that question of what is your goal is what's the more important is the goal to have them line up with you, or is the goal to make sure that your children, your students, right, your counselees, is it important that they know that they are heard, they are respected, they are loved, they are honored, they are valued, they are important, right? Like what is the goal? We have to check ourselves. We have to ask ourselves that question and allow the answer to guide us. Right? To allow that answer to guide our actions and our responses, when things are brought up to us, because that's how we get to the point of there being the trust and the safety and the feelings of security that we talked about earlier on. See, it all builds upon each other, right? So this is what they want. Okay, so now how do we get there? That what we just talked about, that's how we get there. We have to change our approach and how we respond and how we react to things, because it is that breeds and that cultivates that feeling of security and feeling like, yeah, this is really a safe space for me, and I don't feel judged, right? I feel validated. And I think that, another phrase that people can take away from this session is, when we're listening, we can learn to listen, to understand, not necessarily agree. Listen to understand. Sometimes the agreement part is neither here nor there, right? It's just important to listen, to understand, to help bring insight, to help have a better understanding of what's happening, what's going on. Sometimes you can ask. We talk about tips and, what can we suggest to parents? Sometimes asking, when our children bring things to us or students bring things to us, instead of going right into a solution, listening, reflecting back. So is this what you're saying? Right? And then if you're wrong, they'll correct you. Right? Not making assumptions. Right? So this is, I heard you say this. So is this what you're talking about? And again, if you're wrong, they'll tell you, no, that's not what I'm saying. And they'll say it again, right? They'll explain it, to you, what their needs are, what they're looking for from you. So I think these are some takeaways that are so important for those adults, right? Those of us who are listening as adults, regardless of the role that we play in teenagers' lives. I think these are some things that we can all implement to bring and facilitate an environment, I think, that Ryan spoke of earlier, creating this environment where they feel safe and secure enough to really open up when they're ready.
Well, and the one thing I'd like to add is I'm seeing that Tiana on the chat is asking about, parents being educated about the signs and symptoms of stress, depression, anxiety in the teens and young adults, and how do parents respond or educators respond? And, I would say, again, if you have created a relationship with this child or young adult, you're going to notice some differences, right? So maybe they're more withdrawn, more moody, they're snipping at you, they're maybe not eating much, or they're eating a ton more, they're eating comfort foods, a lot of comfort foods all of a sudden. Maybe they're not wanting to do some of the things that they normally do, hang with their friends, play sports, whatever. They're really isolating themselves in their rooms. There's probably something going on. And that's at the point where, as a parent, as a teacher, whatever, go to them and say, hey, I've kind of noticed in the past couple of days, past couple of weeks, months, that it seems like there's a little something going on, and, we don't have to talk about it right now, but I just want to let you know, I'm here if you need to talk about anything. I love you. I'm concerned about you. Maybe let's go out for coffee or something if you want to talk, or, whatever, but making yourself available, opening it up to them, letting them know, that it's okay to talk about this, and that you're going to provide a safe place, which I think Ryan talked about, that, you know, this, it's really important to make sure that if somebody comes and talks to you, it's a student, it's a kid from church, it's your child, it's a family member, you know, what they come and talk to you about needs to stay with you. Unless, and this is the two things that happens with us as therapists, that we have a duty to warn if a person is at risk of hurting themselves or someone else. And so for us as therapists, that confidentiality stays except in those situations. So, you know, if they come to you and say, I'm contemplating suicide. I'm done with this. I can't deal with this anymore. And I'm contemplating suicide. There's, in fact, I actually have a slide here. I'm going to try to pull up. Now, this is about suicide, and I know Tiana is asking about, and I'm trying to find my slide. But so Tiana is also asking about
Resources.
But, and I had it up here, and I can't believe I can't find it now. No, that's and what we can do is maybe we'll you know, we'll get some information out there about resources.
Sure.
You know, and be able
we can definitely
to
add it on to our Facebook, because
Yeah.
this conversation will remain on Facebook, and you can look into the comment section for the resources for that, because I think that's very important, because that is a lot of what teens are dealing with. I would like to hear from the teens again. I don't want you to disengage, because what you're saying is very helpful. And I hope it's a little bit therapeutic for you to have an outlet. This won't just be a one-time platform. I want you to have the opportunity to express yourselves, which hopefully will help you and other people. What do you do to handle the stresses that you experience at the moment, when it's at the severest of level? What do you do if you have a suicidal thought, or if you're extremely depressed, or what do you do at that very moment? Can anyone share?
Yeah, for me, I don't necessarily struggle as much with depression, but I know for me, like when my thoughts are spinning with anxiety, and I can't really get myself just to like be present in the moment. It can just be really hard to be like, what's in the future, or what I did in the past. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that or said that. And my thoughts are just swimming. I do some breathing techniques, and just to get me like back into the present. And then also just journaling and writing down things that I know about myself, things that my friends have told me, things that my parents have told me, writing those things down and remembering who I am and where I'm rooted. For me, my faith is a big aspect of where this comes in. And so believing in a true God who loves me and has created purpose for me has been huge. And just reminding myself when I feel down and just stuck in day-to-day life, it can be really hard just to keep going, but remembering and just having people pour into me, reminding me that I was created for a purpose, and I have a God who loves me and cares for me. And I get to show that love to other people too. And that's where my purpose comes from. So that's kind of what I do, and different practical things that I apply just from learning from counseling and from different friends and talking to people. So.
Good. Brian, I want to hear from you. I think it's been a little minute. What do you do to conquer your challenges?
The suicidal thoughts thing only happened like once, maybe twice if I could really count that second time. So I think first time I just contacted my counselor immediately, tried to do that. But usually in terms of just day to day, like hi, I'm upset, you talk to my friends, I play a game or do something just generally relaxing. Might listen to some music.
I heard you're a good cook too. Didn't you tell me that? Or cook sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes I do cook. That helps. Sometimes being alone helps too. Just like, I know that sounds kind of ironic.
I didn't hear what you said. I'm sorry. Say that.
I said sometimes being alone is good too. I know that sounds ironic. Sometimes just being able to reflect, like, just let your brain like calm down a bit, either right before or after talking to someone, though. If if I know it's like really bad, then I'll talk to at least somebody,
Okay.
like just so I can at least speak in general.
Very good. Ethan, what about you? What do you do?
Yeah, especially with like dealing with depression or anxiety, mostly depression. Just that feeling like just like whenever like I'm feeling overwhelmed or just like or just feeling I'm just gonna lose it or just lose just everything. I'm just losing my mind somewhat. I sort of just I try to I force myself to step back away from everything I'm doing and I just go get a glass of water just to calm down, cool off. I sort of that sort of helps me a lot. And then while I'm like drinking that glass of water, after I drink it, I just start like just thinking about like the basics. So like trying to remember what my name is, what do I like, who do I know, just like that small circle of like who you are. You just keep inside you and you remember what that is about you, and you like you hold on to that and you keep living and like you start thinking you start trying to think after that like so like once you have like that small little circle that small little like part of you that you just hold on to so you know like you can just like get through depression again. It's like you can get those thoughts out your head to just calm down. You start thinking after you like you've calmed down and like took like a was able to like cool off or like just vent out all those like horrible thoughts. um and that's when you start progressing. You can't force your way through like every problem. You gotta like take a time to step back because when you're like very stressed, that's like and very like backed up with like all like these like and anxious thoughts. That's sort of when that's when the depression hits. It's when it's when you're thinking about all these things and it's sort of weighing down on your mind. You just need to step back and take the time to remember like who you are, what you like to do, who you care about, and then get back into what you're dealing with.
That's very good. They're having some great alternatives to combating what they're dealing with. I think those are hearing from you. I commend you because I know for certain you are helping someone because you're helping me. And I know that you are helping other teens because you are a teen and you can relate. I know that you're helping parents. I know that you're helping educate. You're helping counselors, I'm sure too, because you know they like to hear ongoing what you're feeling. So this I hope serves as a platform for you, not just now, but again. I hope to grow the platform of teenagers to express not only what you're feeling, even if you don't know what you want, but just to open up and share in dialogue, I hope is at least a little bit beneficial to whatever you're going through, because it won't last always. You know, you grow up and then you have adult concerns, but you know, things just go up and down, don't they, Dr. Jackson? With all of us in life. You're muted. I'm sorry, can't hear you.
Things absolutely go up and down, and what you learn over time is that the issues of life will be there. What changes over time is our ability to manage them and to deal with them. That improves, right, over time, with help, with assistance, with formulating a really strong and consistent support group. And a support group, you know, we use the word group, it could be one person or just two people, right? I don't mean like a big group of, you know, and you're feeling like, well, I don't really have a group because I don't have 5 to 10 people. It could just be 1 or 2 solid people that you know are there for you. But that's what changes over time, right? Life has some unpredictable moments, right? It has some very challenging moments and difficulties. What changes is our ability. Our ability is what changes over time, and we get better with being able to manage things over time because we learn more, we're talking to more, we're educating ourselves, we're understanding ourselves, we're understanding our triggers, you know, better over time. You know, someone mentioned earlier, and I just wanted to make this statement about a tool that I would like to extend that may be really helpful, this idea. Journaling is something that is talked about a lot. I really recommend when you have these moments where you're feeling like you're really in this dark place. I talked earlier about these positive affirmations can sometimes they sound good, but they can really be hard to internalize. A slight change from that with journaling is keeping track of what you have accomplished. Keeping track of what you have overcome and what helped you through difficult moments, because that is something that you can always reflect back on when you're having these hard times. Because when you're in the midst of a difficult moment of depression or anxiety, it can be really hard to get your mind to the point of reflecting on things that are positive because you're in such a dark place. It's easier if you don't even have to think about it because you've been keeping track of it all along. And then you end up having like this tool that when you get to that dark place, it's almost like a red flag. Let me pull this out, right? Let me pull this out, because that can become an instant reminder of how strong you really are, how important you really are. And now you're no longer trying to convince yourself of these things. You actually have evidence right at your fingertips. And it's not about, oh, I don't believe it. Well, you can't debate with reality, right? Because you've been documenting reality. You've been documenting your successes along the way. Even when times are good, you document. It's almost like having a cold and you're feeling really sick. It's so much easier to have the medication you need right in your house in the medicine cabinet versus trying to drag yourself out of bed, put some clothes on, your body's aching, you got to hop in the car to drive to the pharmacy, you got to wait in line. It's so much more effort and energy to do that versus having what you need ready and available for it, right, for you whenever the symptoms start to appear. I hope that makes sense, right? So it's just kind of keeping that positive journaling going as a part of your, just your lifestyle, so that you can easily pull it out and reflect on it when you feel like you're having difficulty coming up with things to keep you going. So that's one thing. I wanted to read, if it's okay, I know we're at the point of ending here, Gail, but I just think it's so great. There was a comment in the chat section that said, to all the teens on the platform, it takes a very strong person to fight through depression and anxiety. Thanks so much for being transparent. Your experiences and suggestions will help me be a better parent. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to read that.
I was going to read that too, and I'm so glad you did. I listened. I'm like, oh my goodness, yeah. I can say thank you. It was great. You did a fantastic job with enlightening, and I hope you feel encouraged. What you said, Dr. Jackson, were very good points. Affirmations and keeping them documented and keeping them on hand. I know I even have the little sticky notes that I keep on my corner of my mirror, or keep things on your phone when you turn your phone on, that positive affirmation that builds you up, that gives you peace, helps you feel validated. That'll be the first thing that I see when I know you have phones, don't you? We all have those. So just anywhere that you can remind yourself of your worth. Seeking out assistance is also important. And I think, and I meant to have Dr. Jackson and Mrs. Lundberg put your information in the chat.
Well, and actually, Gail, if I could share this, this is, so I don't know if you guys can all see that. Can you guys see the screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So I know that several times throughout tonight, there have been talks about, suicidal ideations, which are the thoughts that we have about committing suicide. And I want to let you know, pretty much everyone has had that thought at one point or another. So I don't want, if you have that thought, I don't want it to freak you out. But the issue then is if you start making a plan, you have access to how, you want to commit this, you have intent. If this is something like it's imminent, you're going to commit suicide, call 911 and tell them. If you maybe had some thoughts, but you don't really want to commit suicide. I've heard a lot of people say, I want to end the pain. I don't want to end my life. And I get that. You know, if it's not imminent, you know, there are these resources here. The Suicide Prevention Lifeline. It used to be a hotline. It used to just be 1-800 numbers, but now you can text 988 and somebody will respond to you right away. Or you can go to suicidepreventionlifeline.org, not only for resources, but also to chat live with someone. So you have at least 3 ways that you can chat with somebody right away if you start having some thoughts. You know, I don't measure up. There's no need for me to be here on this earth anymore. I'm tired of dealing with all of this, whatever it may be. You know, there's this right here. I know that we've talked with some people tonight where kids have said that they felt like they could go and talk to their parents, but not everybody has that. Not everybody has that access to parents to be able to talk to them about some of these things. And so doing something like this might feel a little safer to begin with. Okay. So, you know, here's some information for you guys. I think Gail mentioned about, you know, giving some information about contacting Dr. Jackson or I, and we are obviously available to do that. So I just wanted to share that with you so that the resources are out there. Suicide, calls to the suicide hotline went up 891% just in the first month of COVID. Studies have been done in the past year that have shown that 1 in 4 adults have contemplated suicide in the past year because of COVID and everything going on. So it's real. A lot of people are dealing with it right now. And so we want to give you the help and resources that are out there.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lundberg. And we are going to wrap up because time is, we're at our time limit, but I do want to thank each and every one of you, Ethan, Ryan, Hannah, Macy, who had to leave. What you said was powerful. And I hope you feel, even in the least, a little bit more inspired and encouraged to continue on. We're going through a tough time right now for sure. And there have been tough times in the past, but I hope you look to the future of a better hope of what you can do for yourself and what you can do for others, you know, because you're really making a very good impact on the lives of many, and you are important. Don't be ashamed to seek out for help if you need it. Please don't be ashamed. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. Utilize the resources that Mrs. Lundberg presented for us. Contact someone to assist you through your stage of life, which is really only a little phase. It will pass. This too shall pass. Focus on the positive. You have the power within your head. Just believe that you do, to focus on what's positive and for a better future, just as easily, and I think I said that in the beginning, just as easily as a negative thought say you're going to fail and you're not going to make it and things aren't going to turn out right and look how poorly they are, you can turn the switch to say, I am going to make it. Things are going to get better. I will pass the class. If I don't pass the class, I'll repeat the class. I've done that in college before. I repeated one class 3 times, but hey, I got my degree, you know, so don't think, you know, things can't happen for the positive, just as those negative forces attack you. Thank you so much for being so vulnerable, sharing everything with us, Ms. Lundberg, Dr. Jackson. Don't we appreciate them? I'm going to have you again. So you got to, where are you, Ryan? I don't see you. Raise up. Hey, don't go to sleep on me. We're done.
Yes, we do. To answer your question, yes, I appreciate them. I am a better counselor because of the students that were here today. So thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. I hope you got a little bit out of this. I hope you got a lot. Tune in again. We're going to do another segment on this. This is going to be ongoing. I want these same teams with me again, and bring a friend. How about that? All right. Thanks, everyone. I appreciate it. Have a good evening.
Night.
Thanks, Lindsay. Good night.